Have you ever stopped to think, like really think, if artificial intelligence could genuinely understand how people think? The subtleties.
Hmm.
Or maybe how a massive company like Amazon is, well, completely reimagining its entire business using this technology. Today, we're going on a bit of an exploration, looking into two really fascinating sources that reveal some, frankly, astonishing capabilities of advanced AI models.
Yeah, we're talking about how they can mirror human thought patterns, sometimes with startling accuracy.
Exactly, and how these tools are changing, well, everything, from how science gets done to, how you shop online.
Right.
So our goal today is to kind of unpack the most important insights from these sources, maybe pull out some surprising facts, and help you see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
What does all this tech mean for society, for business, and honestly for your own life? Okay, so let's start with the science. This is some pretty groundbreaking stuff. There's research out from Brigham Young University and OpenAI, and they introduced this idea, this concept called algorithmic fidelity.
Algorithmic fidelity.
Right. Yeah. And when I first read about it, what kind of surprised me was that this isn't just, AI stringing words together or picking up simple biases.
No, it's much deeper than that.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's about the degree to which an AI can accurately reflect that whole complex mix of ideas, attitudes, sociocultural stuff,
Mm-hmm.
everything you find in human populations.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it like an AI that actually gets how different groups of people think and feel.
It's almost like it's building a model of those groups.
Precisely. The core discovery, and this is what's kind of profound, is that it's this sophisticated, really fine-grained ability for AI to emulate responses from specific human subgroups. It's like creating these virtual versions of people based on their backgrounds.
And the way they did that, creating these virtual people, or silicon samples as they called them, is fascinating in itself.
How do they approach that?
Well, they used GPT-3, which, as you know, is a huge language model, and they essentially fed it thousands of sociodemographic backstories. And these weren't just made up. They came from real human survey participants.
Okay, so real profile.
Exactly. Real profiles. Imagine giving the AI details like someone's age, race, gender, their political party, how strongly they feel about it, even income. And then seeing how the AI responds as if it were that specific person, mirroring not just individual traits, but group characteristics too. It's quite an achievement in modeling. And the studies themselves produce some really, really striking findings.
Like what? What stood out?
Okay, so take study one. This one focused on understanding partisan language, how different political groups talk about each other.
Right, that's always a fun topic.
Yeah. So they asked both real people and these AI virtual versions to describe political partisans. And here's the kicker. Human evaluators, people looking at these descriptions, couldn't reliably tell which ones came from humans and which came from the AI.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really? They couldn't spot the AI?
Not reliably, no. The AI's responses just mirrored the human patterns so well. The tone, how extreme the language was, the specific content, whether they mentioned personality traits or issues or social groups.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So a virtual persona set up as, say, an extremely liberal, strong Democrat, Hispanic male might describe Republicans using words like ignorant, racist, misogynist, homophobic. Now, the crucial thing here is the AI wasn't just making this up randomly. It was reflecting the patterns found in the actual human survey data for people with similar profiles.
So learn those associations, those stereotypes, I guess, from the data.
It learned the patterns of language use associated with those identities and viewpoints, yes. It shows a really deep assimilation of how these dynamics play out in society.
That is genuinely incredible, the AI mirroring human political language that closely. But, if it's just reflecting, like you said, and not inventing, does that just mean it's sort of amplifying the biases or the echo chambers that were already in its training data?
That's a really important question.
Or is it doing something, more profound? Because if it can predict how people describe opponents, what else can it predict?
Yeah, and that points to the deeper capability, I think. It's not just amplification. It seems to be understanding the underlying structure of human thought and how things connect. This really comes through in study too. Here, they tested if the AI could actually predict election outcomes.
Okay, now that's a big leap.
It is. They'd give the AI a virtual person's background, race, gender, age, ideology, all that. And GPT-3 showed this remarkably high correspondence in predicting vote choices for candidates like Trump or Clinton.
Right.
But what's really fascinating, maybe even a little spooky, is that this held true even for the 2020 election.
Wait, but didn't GPT-3's training data cut off before that? like in 2019?
Exactly. Its training data ended in 2019, so it wasn't just recalling facts about 2020.
Hmm.
It suggests the AI's understanding goes way beyond simple memorization. It implies it has this grasp of the underlying political dynamics, how different demographic factors consistently link up with voting behavior, enough to sort of project those patterns forward into a new context, the 2020 election.
So it's learned the relationships, the correlations.
It seems so. If you look at the bigger picture, it suggests the AI is capturing these really complex social relationships and their predictive power. And it didn't stop there either. Study 3 went even further.
Oh.
Yeah, the AI managed to replicate complex interrelationships between all sorts of things, attitudes, demographics, behaviors, all within a kind of virtual interview setup. It showed that its patterns of association, how it linked different ideas or traits together, closely mirrored what you find in large human survey data sets.
So like if in the real world, people with certain attitudes are more likely to do certain things.
The AI showed the same linkage. It had learned those connections. It's almost like it's learned the code of human interaction and belief systems in a way.
Okay, so let's just step back for a second. The practical implication here seems pretty clear. These AI models are getting sophisticated enough that they could genuinely be used to simulate human populations for social science research.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about how you normally do a big survey. You need thousands of people, you have to recruit them, they'll probably pay them, process all that data. It's hugely expensive, takes forever.
Massively expensive, yeah.
But this research, they mentioned study one cost them, what, $29 using GP3?
That's right, $29 to get insights that would normally need these huge, costly human surveys.
It's a paradigm shift for researchers, isn't it?
It really is. It opens up completely new ways to explore human behavior, societal trends, much faster, much cheaper, without all those logistical nightmares. It's a potential game changer.
Okay, now, let's shift gears from the controlled environment, the lab. Let's look at the real world, the massive scale. Let's talk about how one of the world's biggest companies, Amazon, is not just sort of using this AI, but fundamentally embracing it.
Right, weaving it into everything.
Exactly. Andy Jassy, Amazon CEO, he recently called generative AI a once-in-a-lifetime technology.
Strong words.
Very. He clearly believes it's going to completely change what's possible for customers, for businesses, and they're not just playing around, they're investing heavily. And this is where that theory, that algorithmic fidelity we were talking about, meets enormous practical scale. Amazon is already putting this tech everywhere.
You see it popping up in so many places.
Totally. Their next-gen Alexa, called Alexa Plus A, isn't just smarter. It's designed to be like the first personal assistant that can actually take significant actions for you.
So beyond just answering questions.
Yeah, way beyond telling you the weather or playing a song. Imagine asking Alexa to handle complex tasks.
Yeah.
And then there's shopping. Millions of customers are already using an AI shopping assistant.
Like the lens feature.
Exactly, Lens. You snap a picture of something you see out and about, the AI finds it for you on Amazon. Instant gratification, almost.
Or buy for me.
Right, where you can tell their agent to buy something for you, even if it's on another website. And they're even predicting your clothing size based on past purchases and how different brands fit you personally. It's getting really tailored.
And it's definitely not just the consumer-facing side either. The AI is up inside their business tools, too.
How so?
Well, nearly 500,000 independent sellers on Amazon are using AI to write better product descriptions, get advice on selling strategy.
Okay, helping the sellers.
Yeah. And get this. Over 50,000 advertisers used AI tools just in the first quarter of this year for planning campaigns, optimizing them.
50,000.
Yep. And then internally, it's like an invisible engine, optimizing inventory, predicting demand way more accurately, making the robots in their warehouses more efficient. They've even rebuilt their customer service chatbot using this tech for a much better experience. It's really, truly woven into the fabric of their operations globally. So it makes you wonder, where does Amazon see all this going? What's the next step?
Jassy talked about that, right?
He did. He puts a really strong emphasis on what he calls AI agents.
AI agents. Explain that a bit.
So think of them as software systems, but designed to perform complex tasks completely on your behalf. They're not just simple tools. He talks about them like digital teammates.
Playmates.
Yeah. Imagine agents that can, say, scour the entire web for information, summarize huge amounts of data, do really deep research for you, write complex code, spot weird things in data sets, pull out the key insights, basically automating tons of time-consuming tasks.
Okay, I can see the appeal.
Jassy literally envisions billions of these agents, billions, across every company, every field you can think of, and even helping with personal stuff like making shopping easier, organizing your travel, managing daily chores. He stresses that, look, a lot of these haven't been built yet, but they're coming, and fast.
And from Amazon's viewpoint, this move towards AI agents,
Yeah.
that's going to dramatically speed up innovation, right? And
Yeah.
broaden what they can even attempt.
The core idea.
They think it lets teams sort of start every project from a much more advanced position.
Right, less time on the grunt work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Less focus on rote, repetitive stuff, and much more on strategic thinking, improving customer experiences in fundamental ways, even inventing totally new things.
The vision is that these agents become reliable teammates that actually get smarter and more helpful the more you use them.
It's a pretty big transformation they're describing, elevating their ability to, as they say, make customers' lives easier and better. But of course, there's the other side of the coin, the workforce.
The impact on jobs.
Jassy was pretty direct about it. He acknowledged this transformation will mean, and I'm quoting here, fewer people doing some of the jobs that are being done today and more people doing other types of jobs.
So a shift in roles, potentially fewer roles overall in some areas.
Yeah, he specifically anticipated a reduction in the total corporate workforce because of these efficiency gains.
That's a significant statement for a company the size of Amazon.
It really is.
Yeah.
It highlights just how profound an impact they expect these agents to have on how work gets done, not just there, but likely everywhere.
So let's try and tie this together. What does all this mean for you, for the listener, trying to make sense of this rapidly changing world?
Yeah, what's the takeaway?
Well, the academic research we talked about first, it really validates these profound capabilities of AI, its ability to understand, to mirror, even predict human behavior. It shows just how sophisticated these models have become at reflecting us in all our complexity.
Okay, so the tech is powerful.
Immensely powerful. And then Amazon's real-world application shows exactly how these capabilities are being put into practice right now, transforming how you shop, how businesses run, and crucially, what's coming next, what's on the horizon.
This is not sci-fi anymore.
Not at all. It's unfolding right now.
Yeah.
It's influencing daily life in ways maybe you don't even fully see yet. The power being unleashed is just immense. But, and this is important, that same research that highlights the power also gives a warning.
Which is?
That models with this level of fidelity, this ability to mimic human groups so well, they also have a dangerous potential for misinformation, for manipulation, for fraud on a new scale.
Right. If it can simulate a group convincingly.
It can potentially manipulate that group or others' perception of that group. It raises really big questions about ethical development and how we make sure these tools are used responsibly. That's the dual-edged sword here.
And Andy Jassy himself, like we mentioned, he had a pretty clear message for his own employees, but I think it really applies to everyone listening.
What was that again?
He urged them, basically.
Yeah.
Be curious about AI, educate yourself, attend workshops and take trainings, use and experiment with AI whenever you can.
The hands-on.
Exactly. His point was pretty unmistakable. The people who embrace this change, who get comfortable with AI, learn its language, maybe even help build its capabilities, they're going to be really well positioned for whatever comes next.
So it's about adapting, learning.
Yeah. Whether you're building this stuff directly or just living in a world increasingly shaped by it, understanding these shifts, getting comfortable with the technology, it feels pretty key to navigating the future. So today we've really explored how artificial intelligence has reached this point where it can mirror complex human thought patterns.
Yeah, reflecting our social dynamics back at us.
And how that core capability is already driving this huge transformation across industries, from, fundamental science to the services you use every day, like global commerce.
So maybe here's something to think about. If AI can now reliably simulate human populations, predict behaviors with this kind of precision, how might that fundamentally change how we understand society, politics, even how we understand ourselves in the coming years? What completely new questions we couldn't even properly ask before, will we be able to tackle now? And maybe more importantly, what responsibilities come with having that kind of power, that level of insight into human collective behavior?
Lots to think about there. As always, we really encourage you to keep questioning, keep learning, and keep thinking through the implications of these incredible and sometimes maybe a little unsettling technological shifts. Until next time, stay curious.